Hey there, we're studying Genesis chapters 1 and 2 this week. Let's dive right in. Verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, in the Bible, when something is created, it means that it was created by design, by intention, by purpose, and it was made to do something. It wasn't an accident. There was an intentionality behind it. So in the very first verse of the Bible, God declares his intention for all of creation. All creation has a purpose, and we are no exception. We are created to fulfill a purpose. If you have not yet heard about God's plan for your life, or what he wants to do through you, just know that it's coming. You have a future. You have a hope. You have a destiny. You have something you were placed here on earth to do. Verse 2 says, Now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Here, the author of Genesis uses some poetic language to describe creation. Before God began to speak things into existence, the earth was formless and void. Some translations say empty. But it wasn't just empty. It was also without order or structure. There was no form to it. But then we see these words, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And that tells us that even though the earth was empty and void, it had potential. You can't have potential if there isn't some kind of life force or energy source, which in this case is the Spirit of God, and the Spirit of God is hovering, which means that God is active, that God is interested. And the fact that the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters tells me that God was looking down at everything that was about to come into existence. And if God was looking at it, he wanted it to be beautiful. So God looks down at creation and he sees potential. In you, God sees potential. All have potential. Things may look bleak. They may not seem like they're going anywhere. But if God is in it, there's always potential for growth, for development, for multiplication, for change. And now let's pick up in verse 3. Then God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Do you see how God was working? As soon as God spoke, things happened. God spoke to bring light into existence, and he did just that. And then he saw the light, and he said, That's good. So before God brought forth anything else, he took a moment to evaluate what he had done thus far. He said, This is good. You're God's creation. And if everything he created before you was good, how much more are you who bear his image, who were created in his likeness? Are you not good? Are you not excellent? Are you not beautiful? And don't forget, in the original language, the word good actually means very good. So God looked at you and said, You are very good. Take that in. The creator of the universe took a moment out of his day to look at you and say, You are very good. As believers, we need to hear that more often. We need to believe that more wholeheartedly. We need to tell others that more frequently. You are very good. You are excellent. You are beautiful. You are purposeful. Why? Because that's what God said. So God continued on with creation. Verse 4. Then God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. God called the firmament heaven. God's creative process was intentional. God had a purpose for each thing that he created. Remember that. This is the key to understanding creation. Each thing had a purpose. God separated the waters from the waters. What was the purpose behind that? Well, so that life could exist. For water to be able to nourish life, there needed to be separation between the waters that were underneath and the waters that were above. Verse 14, Then God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and to be for signs and seasons, and for days and years, and for the division of time. Again, you see how each creation was created for a reason. And even though many of us take these things for granted, whether it's the sun, the moon, the stars, God made each one of those to be purposeful. Do you feel purposeful? Do you feel like you have a reason for being here? Hopefully this passage is reminding you that you do. God put you here on earth for a reason. You have something you were created to do. Verses 19 to 20. Then God said, Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open air. So God created the great sea creatures, and every living thing that moves and swarms in it according to their kinds, and every bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. On the fifth day, God created life forms, created animals, and he commanded that those animals should be fruitful and multiply. And you, my friend, are also a part of God's creation. And you too are called to be fruitful and multiply. So many times we think of fruitfulness only as having children, and that's one aspect of it. But fruitfulness is really more than that. Fruitfulness means to produce what you were created to produce. Fruitfulness means that you will produce something. In the same way that the animals bore offspring, you too are called to bear offspring, but maybe not biological offspring. So maybe you're called to be fruitful in your business. Maybe you're called to be fruitful in your walk with the Lord. Maybe you're called to be fruitful in your relationships. Whatever that looks like for you, God wants you to be fruitful. God wants you to produce. God wants you to create. Now let's look at the sixth day of creation. Then God said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that moves on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. Then God blessed them. And God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and everything that moves on the earth. So on the sixth day of creation, God creates humanity in his image. And remember, in the image of God, we are given dominion, we are given power, we are given authority. And we are also told to subdue the earth. Now, many people get hung up on that phrase, but listen to this. Subdue does not mean destroy. Subdue means to bring something under control. Subdue means to manage. And verse 35 tells us why God gave us authority and power. He gave us the ability to rule. To rule over what? Well, over the earth, over the fish in the sea, over the birds in the sky, and over every living creature. God gave you authority over your circumstances. God gave you power over your problems. God gave you dominion over your world. Too often we live defeated because we have forgotten that we have been given power to live a victorious life. So if you're feeling defeated right now, I want to remind you, get up, stand up. Take hold of the power that has been given to you and rule over your world. And finally, verse 31, Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. At the end of creation, God takes a step back and he looks at everything. And again, he sees potential. But now he sees fulfilled potential. Everything God created was not only good, it was very good. And he looked at you and said, You are very good. And friends, if you're here watching this message today, if you're listening to the audio, then you must believe that God said that about you. God looked down through eternity past and into eternity future, and he looked at you and said, You are very good. So accept that truth. Believe that truth. Live like you believe that truth. And never, never, never forget that you are very good. And last point, before we close, notice the repeated pattern throughout this chapter. At the end of each day it says, And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. There was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Throughout the 6 days of creation, we see a constant pattern of rest. Each day ended with rest. Day 1 ended with rest. Day 2 ended with rest. And on the seventh day, God rested. We see the pattern of work, 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 rest. Work, 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 rest. And God, after completing everything he had set out to do, rested. So if God worked hard for 6 days and then rested on the seventh day, then I suggest that you do the same thing. Don't try to work all the time, all the time, all the time.
All the time rest.
Sometimes we think that we're letting God down if we're not constantly working. But God worked hard for 6 days, and then he rested on the seventh day. And he expects us to do the same thing. He expects us to work hard, but also to rest. Hey friends, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new Bible story or reflection.